Okay, everyone, let me walk you through what I noticed and how it all felt from my side. I first spotted Papoose at the far end of the screen, just like some of you pointed out earlier. I actually went back and watched the clip again to make sure I wasn't mistaken, and there he was. I also recognized Remy, Fat Joe, and a few other familiar faces nearby. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a regular live video, the kind people scroll past every day without thinking twice. But the moment it truly began, something in the atmosphere felt different. This wasn't someone joking for attention or trying to go viral. The energy felt heavy, like the air in the room had changed. It felt like a man who had been carrying a heavy load inside for a long time, and finally reached a point where he could no longer keep it hidden. His face looked steady, almost calm, but his eyes told a much deeper story. He didn't seem angry. He didn't seem excited. He looked worn down, like someone who had already accepted that whatever he was about to say might change everything. When he began speaking, he didn't rush through his words. Every sentence came out slowly, carefully, as if he had practiced them in his mind many times before. He didn't raise his voice or try to sound dramatic. Instead, he spoke in a way that felt personal, like he was laying out pieces of his own life in front of strangers, one moment at a time. At first, the comments section didn't quite know how to react. Some people laughed, thinking it might be a joke. Others typed questions, trying to understand where he was going. But as he continued, the mood in the chat shifted. The flow of messages slowed down. People started taking screenshots. Recording icons popped up on screens everywhere. Everyone could sense that this wasn't just entertainment anymore. This was something real and deeply personal. He began talking about a night he said had been kept hidden. He didn't explain every detail, but he made it clear that this moment carried a lot of meaning for him. It wasn't something small or easy to brush off. It wasn't a simple misunderstanding or a rumor passed around online. He described it as something that crossed a line he never imagined would be crossed in his own life. Then he said a name that changed everything in an instant. The moment he mentioned 50 Cent, the chat exploded. Messages flew in faster than anyone could read them. People tagged friends, shared links, and reacted with shock and disbelief. It felt like the entire internet leaned closer to their screens at the same time. What made the situation feel even heavier was that he didn't show proof. He didn't play any recordings. He didn't post any messages. He simply talked about what he said existed. And somehow that made it feel even more serious. When someone says they have something but chooses not to reveal it, people start filling in the blanks on their own. The silence where evidence could have been felt louder than any screenshot or video. He spoke about private conversations, messages that felt too close to be harmless, voice notes that didn't sound like casual talk between friends. He didn't describe them as jokes or simple exchanges. He described them as moments that made him question everything he believed about his relationship and the life he thought he was building. As he kept going, his voice began to change. It didn't get louder or sharper. It grew weaker. You could hear it in his breathing. You could hear it in the pauses between his words. This didn't sound like someone trying to win an argument or prove a point. It sounded like someone trying to survive a painful truth that had already done its damage. Then he said something that shifted the entire situation. He said this wasn't only about him. He said it reached into his family. That was the moment when it stopped being gossip and turned into something much deeper. It wasn't just about public figures anymore. It was about a home, a child, and a sense of trust that had been shaken at its core. The chat reacted in a different way after that. Some people sent hearts and words of support. Others told him to stop and protect his privacy. A few begged him to explain more. But everyone could feel that this wasn't just a celebrity speaking anymore. This was a father. This was a husband. This was a man talking about something breaking inside his own household. He spoke about doubt, about not being sure anymore, about questioning things he once believed were solid and unchangeable. He didn't throw insults. He didn't make harsh accusations. He admitted that he felt lost, like he was standing in a place he never thought he would reach. That's what made it so uncomfortable to watch. It didn't feel like online drama. It felt like grief. It felt like watching someone realize that a part of their life had slipped away without them noticing until it was too late. When the live video ended, nothing felt settled. There was no clear conclusion, no final statement, just silence. But the internet didn't stay quiet for long. Within minutes, clips started spreading everywhere. People took short pieces of what he said and shared them across different platforms. Some added captions. Some added background music. Some gave their own opinions in long threads and videos. Everyone had something to say. Some people believed the whole thing was planned. They said every word sounded measured, like he knew exactly what he was doing. They replayed the video over and over, breaking down his tone, his pauses, and the way he looked at the camera. They believed it was a carefully chosen moment to tell his side of the story. Others believed he was falling apart. They said no one could fake that kind of pain. They focused on the way his voice cracked and how he looked away from the screen when things got too heavy. They saw a man who had reached his breaking point, not someone following a plan. And then there was the name that kept coming up again and again: 50 Cent. People started digging through old interviews, photos, and videos. Any moment where Remy and 50 were in the same space suddenly looked different. Things that once seemed normal now felt suspicious. A smile, a laugh, a shared moment on camera. Everything was looked at through a new lens. Then audio clips began to circulate. People said they came from Remy. The clips were quiet and hard to hear clearly, but viewers listened closely. Some claimed they heard plans being discussed. Others thought it sounded like inside jokes. Everyone heard something different, but most agreed it didn't sound casual. The comments became divided. Some people defended her, saying no one knew the full story. Others attacked her, convinced they had already seen enough. Some said none of this should be public. Others argued that the truth deserved to come out, no matter how uncomfortable it made people feel. Then Papoose mentioned something that made the situation even heavier. He spoke about questions surrounding his child, about not being sure, about hearing things that made him doubt something no parent ever wants to doubt. That moment changed the tone of everything. People stopped laughing. They stopped making jokes. The reality of what this meant hit harder. This wasn't just about adults making choices anymore. This was about a child's life and a family's future. From that point on, the story wasn't just trending. It was being analyzed. Blogs wrote long posts. Videos broke down every sentence he said. Fans created timelines matching dates, places, and events. They tried to connect dots even when the picture wasn't clear. Some people said this was unfair. They argued that no one truly knew what happened behind closed doors. They believed private problems should stay private. Others said silence only protects lies. They felt he had the right to speak his truth, even if it made people uncomfortable. Meanwhile, there was no immediate response from the other side. No long post. No live video. Just quiet. And that silence meant different things to different people. Some saw it as maturity. Others saw it as guilt. Some believed it was a legal move. Others thought it was emotional shock. As the days passed, the story didn't slow down. It grew. Every old photo became a possible clue. Every caption became a hint. Even song lyrics were read in a new way. People started seeing patterns where they had never noticed them before. What made this situation stand out wasn't just the famous names involved. It was the emotion behind it. The way it unfolded in real time. The way millions of people watched someone's personal world fall apart on a screen. It became a conversation about more than betrayal. It became a conversation about trust, loyalty, and what happens when private pain turns into public content. Some people felt guilty for watching. Others felt pulled in. Everyone felt something. At the center of it all was a man who looked like he had reached the edge of what he could handle. Whether people believed his story or not, most agreed on one thing. That moment didn't look easy. Didn't look fake. It looked heavy. In the end, there was no clear winner. No clear villain. Just a lot of questions. People asked why it had to happen this way. Why it had to be on a live video. Why it had to involve the whole world. Some said it was because he couldn't carry it alone anymore. That the weight of staying silent became heavier than the risk of speaking out. Others believed it was about control. About shaping the story before someone else did. But no matter which side people took, one truth remained. Once something like this becomes public, it never fully disappears. Screenshots stay forever. Clips get reposted. Stories get retold. Even when attention moves on, the record remains. What started as a simple live stream turned into a moment people will remember for a long time. Not because it was shocking, but because it felt real. It showed how quickly a life can change when silence breaks. How fast trust can turn into doubt. How personal pain can become public conversation. And maybe that's the hardest part of all. Behind the headlines, the reactions, and the opinions, there are real people dealing with real consequences. Families, children, relationships that will never go back to how they were before that camera turned on. The internet will move on to the next story. It always does. But for the people involved, this moment will stay. That's what made it feel different. It wasn't just something to scroll past. It was a reminder of how fragile trust can be,